Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Books and Backbone podcast. My name is Donna Harris. I'm the owner of Bookkeeping Made Simple just outside of Salt Lake City, Utah. And with me today is Robert Stevens. And Robert, tell us a little bit about what you do.
Hi, I'm Rob Stevens here from sunny Castle Pines, Colorado. I am the president and managing director of Somerset Capital. That's the primary gig, and we do corporate restructuring and reorganization. In that capacity, I serve as a court-appointed receiver. I have about 30 different times, and our particular area of expertise is distressed assets and troubled companies. That's kind of where we've made our name. But we also enjoy tech investing, startup investing, that type of stuff too, when opportunities present themselves. So that's the day thing in my sporting life. I have a ninth dan taekwondo. I've done that for 47 years, and father of two daughters that are both fifth degree black belts, which is kind of cool. And my avocation and my other side business is we own a company called Heirloom Charts, and we do custom genealogical research and charts and things along those lines. And that's me.
That's really cool. Well, tell us about the corporate restructuring. Is this going in and auditing and removing bottlenecks, or what are you doing there?
It's usually far worse than that. We're by the time we get involved, the companies are, contemplating bankruptcy in most cases. We will go in and replace management, and then do complete forensic housekeeping. These tend to be companies that have operations. In some cases, that's the operations have ceased, and we'll be going in to try to reclaim assets and find things that we can sell or monetize for the creditors and for the investors that are in the project as it stands. And across all kinds of different, very interesting industries, everything from um, bottled water. I'm working on a bottled water company right now called Hawaiian Springs. Some of the best water in the world, if I say so myself. And right down to some odd stuff like cannabis. We've done one. I call it our first and last cannabis receivership. I'll never do another one. For a lot of reasons, but yeah, that's kind of our space. Got involved in this years ago when I realized that my real talent and the real value add for me was when things were screwed up. Our company, I like to say, I come in after the major rager party and clean up. That's kind of what we do.
So these are basically businesses that are going into bankruptcy if they've ceased operations.
Sometimes a receivership is an alternative to bankruptcy, is what it
Okay.
is. If we're acting as a receiver, and in some cases, it never goes that far. Sometimes it's just a surrender. Management wants out. They appoint somebody like me as chief restructuring officer, CRO, interim president, whatever it takes to make that all come together. But that is kind of where it goes in those types of situations.
So, what have you seen that will cause a company to fail?
There's a whole bunch of different things that can do it.
Oh, yeah.
And what always happens is somebody wants to claim that there's some kind of malfeasance. Oh,
Hmm.
there's embezzlement, there's this, there's that, and knock wood, I've never found it. I've always found financial mismanagement,
Mm-hmm.
but I try to remember the movie. I think it was Office Space, where they said, well, you know, that's stupid. That should get you arrested. He said, stupid isn't a crime.
Right.
And he said, if stupid was a crime, my brother-in-law would be in jail for the rest of his life. That was the quote from the movie. And sadly, that's what you run into more than anything is you run into just people made bad decisions. They made big bets when they should have made small bets. And then a lot of other instances, you go in and realize, hey, um, they're undercapitalized. More businesses fail from lack of working capital than they do from lack of sales. That's really, really key. And then also understanding different industries have different sales cycles. So it isn't so simple. Like I'll give you a real world example. The water business, the bottled water business, what we bottle today, let's assume we run a couple thousand cases today. We're going to shrink wrap those. We're going to ship them to a warehouse. That can be anywhere from a month to 2 months before it's at a location where we can deploy it to any of the big ones, Albertsons, any of the big chains. So by the time, and let's say, okay, it's Whole Foods. They take a delivery of 10,000 cases today. The net payments start coming in 60 to 90 days after that. So what we produce today, that could be 6 months out before it generates actual cash in your account. Now contrast that with the realities of business, which is payroll. What's today? Today's the 17th.
Hmm.
Friday was payroll. And
Right.
nobody cares if it's going to be 6 months out, other than you have to pay those things right now. Utilities, payroll. You have to have the financial staying power to be able to do that. That's what wrecks a lot of businesses. It's just lack of working capital and maybe overestimation and oversimplification on those. You have to either have the capital or have the ability to get the capital.
Right. Right. I see that a lot too. A lot of people trying to bootstrap, and some things you can, um, but manufacturing you really can't.
Correct. I mean,
And I agree. A lot of people don't realize what that billing cycle is going to look like and how the cash flow ebbs and flows.
in a service business, right? You could bootstrap based
Hmm.
on maybe, and even that, sometimes maybe the client wants the work done before you invoice them. And also even in the service business, I'm sure in your business, I mean, if you started to tell somebody, well, this is about a 5 grand project and I won't do it until you pay me up front, you're going to rub some people the wrong way.
Hmm.
So you have to kind of balance those things out too. But yeah, manufacturing is just, it's really, uh, and you have to be very, very, very specific on your cogs, you have to really know where your pro forma goes, where's the crossover point
Hmm.
between, selling something and making money on the sale of something. And also you need to be able to figure out, on a real time click by click basis, which accounts are making you money.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and there's some really great technologies that are out there right now that are plug and play, kind of SaaS, kind of a software as a solution products that you can use to keep track of that sort of stuff. We use a company called Business Analytica
Uh-huh.
that we can look back and tell you right away. You can, and it's nice because facts are really important, especially if things aren't necessarily going the way you want. You need to really know where the rubber hits the road and what's the actual numbers, what's the actual facts on what I'm looking at. Um, so yeah, that's the ins and outs.
I'm often shocked at the number of people that I work with smaller businesses, but the number of business owners that just kind of go off of how much do I have in my checking account? And that's what they think their profit is. And I'm going, no. And what's more, you can have a profitable business that's cash flow negative if you've taken out too many loans or you have too many liability payments.
Right. That's that.
So,
Well, I heard that said once that I love that somebody said, well, profits are great, but cash flow is greater.
yes,
In a
absolutely.
perfect world, right? You have massive cash flow and very little profits. That's like a perfect business, right?
Right?
That's why people that own a lot of real estate, a lot of rental properties, and lots of cash flow, and at the end of the day, with depreciation, they might not owe anything. They may end up in the red.
Right, right. And,
So,
and I tell people all the time, make sure you give me your depreciable assets because that's a huge difference at tax time.
oh, big time. Many years ago, when I was running a venture capital fund called Technology Partners, we had the tail end of a fractional jet, and the depreciation was unbelievably great. We got depreciation from the plane, which was really kind of an interesting, kind of an interesting deal. But then again, you have to have something to offset that with. So you better be making a lot of money somewhere.
Yes, or you can't use it.
Yeah, exactly. And you can't sell it. You can't transfer it. I don't
Right.
care what anybody says. We'll look at that like under GAAP. It's whatever your NOL is, your net operating loss. You divide it by the prevailing tax rate, and that's what the asset's worth. I've always taken exception with that because it's not something you can sell. Not
Right.
really. right? I mean, uh, yeah. And if you think you can sell it, talk to a lawyer, make sure, because I don't, you could end up in more trouble than it's worth.
I've seen that happen. I've had clients sell their businesses and I came through. They didn't bother to tell me. And one of my close friends is a business attorney. And I came in and I was like, oh my gosh, you sold it for a fraction of what you could have gotten out of it. You were, you did not get the good end of the deal. And I was like, I could have referred you to her. She would have charged you a minimal fee to review the paperwork and just make sure that you're protected.
Yeah, there was a years ago, there was a company in the building where we opened one of our companies, and they were in the publishing business. And the business was, I'm dating myself here, but do you remember when you would check into a hotel and there were those little books that were local books, where to shop, where to eat? That was the business. And they would sell those to the local hotels. That was what they would do, and sell advertising, whatever else. It was not a very profitable business. Um, but John Kluge bought them out for a ton of money.
Uh huh.
The reason he bought them out, and he bought them for I think 20 million bucks, but the company had a tax loss carry forward in the publishing business of 148 or 150 million dollars that he was able to use in his publishing business, and merge the two together, and basically bought a loss, 150 million dollar loss for 20 million dollars. That
Well,
was the
that's a deal.
Yeah, and very, very sophisticated, very, very savvy. Not something that anybody should tiptoe into and think, I should do that. It doesn't.
Yeah, you've got to have your teams on your side.
Big time. And be ready to spend money, because the instant you try to apply that, be ready to defend it. It's not
Yeah,
an automatic thing.
yeah, absolutely. But that's a great way of getting those losses because those look just so our maybe our clients that don't or our viewers that don't know, you can carry those losses forward for 20 years.
Yeah,
And that kind of offsets a lot of your profit so that you don't have to pay as much in tax.
absolutely. If you're in the same industry, it's got
It's
to
got
be
to be the same
got to be
industry.
perfect. It can't.
I can't buy my husband's dump truck company and apply it
No,
to my bookkeeping business,
no, no.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
I wish I could.
Right. And even I was reading a thing, even change of business. So let's say it's the same corporation, but we change directions. There's a question there. Does the NOL apply?
Yeah, yeah.
The answer is it depends. I mean, it's really, be careful.
Well, that's the answer to just about everything in business.
Right.
It depends. It depends on what's going on. It depends on a lot of other moving parts.
My background's in securities, and one of my mentors in the business, I was a young 20 something guy, and I said, "Well, what about this? Pick a rule." And he goes, "Hang on one second." And he disappears for a minute, comes back, starts reading through some stuff, and I go, I'm kind of disappointed. I thought you would know this off the top of your head. And
Uh-huh.
he goes like this: life lesson, never memorize this stuff. Because he said the problem is the governmental authorities, they change the rules. And then when they don't change the rules, they might have a different interpretation. Like the SEC has interpretive releases. It's the same rule, but now they apply it this way and not that way. So it's dangerous to memorize it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I don't have the tax code memorized, even if I
Never.
could, even if I had the bandwidth to memorize it. One, it's pointless. I don't have a lot of big corporate clients. I'm not having to figure out earnings per share or anything like that. Most of my clients are single owners, or maybe one or two partners, but they're not big businesses. I would like for some of them to be. So, but so there's no need for me to remember all of that. And then every year I keep the tax code pulled up or I keep ChatGPT pulled up so I can search it. And because I want to double check, I want to make sure I have the latest information because it changes all the time.
Right.
And what I know today might not be applicable tomorrow.
Yeah. In like a real world example, I had um, a situation where it was kind of tenuous, and we were looking at something, and a securities lawyer said, "Well, they should have just used Rule 144. That really applies really well here." And I said, "False. They changed it in November. and it's not the same, and it doesn't apply. And he gave me this dumb look on his face, and I thought, God, this is somebody's lawyer.
I have close friends who are lawyers and they are very good, but I have talked to lawyers just like that.
And and the worst of it would have been if he, if he was an estate attorney or a litigator, kind of the jack of all trades.
Uh-huh.
But the ones that are great litigators, they will always pass the buck. I don't know a lot about that. I've got a guy at our firm that does those things, so I'm gonna have to defer to him on that.
Uh-huh.
And they do that, and that's the way that they handle all of that stuff, is to, just kind of, if it's specialized, turn it over to somebody that's specialized. Don't make the guess.
Right. And I tell people all the time is let me research your specific situation because what works for client A, it may not work for you. And like you said, the rules change.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I've learned really quick to not give advice off on the fly. I have to research it before I'm going to give out advice.
Yeah, my advice always starts like this: I'm not a lawyer, and I'm not your lawyer, and I'm not going to give you legal advice. That's how it always starts, because it's the funniest thing. The biggest way to screw something up, is to take legal advice from a business guy, um,
Uh-huh.
or take business advice from a lawyer. They're the worst. They're the worst. Don't listen to them. They don't know. They think they know. They think they know everything. I mean, that's a business where they're paid to be smart, and they really they know, because they know something. They know everything.
Right.
When I was a young, owned a broker dealer as a younger guy, I had we set up a procedures manual for high risk account clients.
Mm-hmm.
So if they were a high risk client, they would fall into a different bucket. They would get more scrutiny. There were things we wouldn't allow them to do. And the high risk accounts, take a wild guess. What were the fields?
Uh, Law, cannabis,
Okay. Cannabis
medicine.
was illegal as hell in those days. So nobody would admit they were in the cannabis business. But I'll give you the
Okay.
answer. The answer number one was doctor. They
Yeah.
were the worst investors. They thought they were smarter than everybody else, and they probably were. But just because molecular bioscience doesn't mean you understand the options market. So
Exactly.
we would
Exactly.
they were high risk to end up being somebody that, um, they were a complaint. They were a problem waiting to happen. Because if something doesn't work out, then it can't be their fault. They're brilliant. It's your fault. You did this to me. That was the way around it. So
Yeah. And I
yeah.
always thought that was ironic because I have friends who are physicians, and a lot of them they're brilliant physicians,
Mhm.
and that's it.
No, exactly.
And some of them aren't that good physicians, and they're even worse with everything else. So
Right.
I'm always surprised. I thought they would understand specialization means that's the only thing you know anything about.
So true.
So I don't speak about options. My husband did that for 30 years. So if I have a question about options, I go get him. If I have a question on business law, I call my friend who's a business lawyer. If I have questions on medicine, I talk to my doctor. And that's the reason we do all that is because we have this specialized knowledge and one person just can't know
Yeah, and
all that.
isn't it odd? I mean, I have two daughters, 22 and 25. She'll be 26 next month, but their generation will, not so much them, but they will get their medical advice from TikTok.
Yeah. Well, I
Why?
think some of that is I lost a lot of faith in the medical profession in 2020 and 21. And
Mhm.
I'm sure I'm not the only one. And it was because I was intelligent enough to know where the data was about the plague that they said we were going through and look at other um, data points and figured out that it wasn't a thing. And I'm sure viewers are going to disagree with me, but
Well,
the
not
flu
not this
went away.
not this not this participant, but I mean,
Yeah. The flu went away. Um, And I was fighting from the beginning. They were saying, oh, you need to wear a mask. It's like, why don't I just act like I do every other flu season? It's a flu. And if I'm sick, I stay home. And if I'm not sick, you don't have anything to worry about.
Right. No, and the worst of it, I think, as a social experiment, I think the COVID thing brought out the worst in people.
Oh,
It
absolutely.
gave a lot of people the kind of, as I would call it, the psychic permission to just be nasty to people. Berate people and yell at them and virtue signal and yeah, we would laugh. The thing was, if you saw someone driving in a car by themselves with a mask on, then that was one point. If you could see someone in the car by themselves with more than one mask on, that was a unicorn. That was a big find because it struck me as so funny. Why are you wearing a mask? Are you going to get yourself sick? Are you
Or the
crazy?
face shield with the mask
Oh
underneath it
yeah.
while they're driving alone.
I'd say, what are we welding? You got a welder's mask on. Come
Yeah,
on. And it was just, yeah, it's same. I mean, it was. But they'll get all their investment advice, all their medical advice, all the stuff from some TikTok thing that wants to sell you a supplement.
right.
So, but yeah,
And I don't have any problems with them, watching TikTok and asking questions. But just because someone puts up a blog or puts something out on TikTok or YouTube or anything else doesn't mean that they know what they're talking about.
yeah, I mean, there's a saying. It's kind of New Testament-y, but it's that every prophet has honor except in his own home. But people don't want to listen to you if you're somebody they know. They'll listen to some complete stranger and think that person is they're some sort of an authority. But you can't be right because I've known you my whole life.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. There is a lot of that.
And my other professional friends, like, I'm sure you get this too, is that if they know you, they don't understand maybe necessarily that it's your business and this isn't free.
Right? Oh, well, even my clients, there's some that they're constantly asking me for advice, but they're not paying for advice. They're paying for very basic, that's all they want to pay for,
Mhm.
bookkeeping and tax preparation. And I'm sitting there going, guys, I can do way more than you're paying me for, but I'm not going to do it for free.
Yeah, it's a challenge.
Yeah. So you restructure corporations. How do you tell if the management really needs to be replaced? Which managers do you look for?
Usually we do a clean sweep and take them all out. That's the way that it works. By the time we would get brought in, it's way far gone. It's not like they missed, maybe they had an off month or something along those lines. It's usually, and I've kind of been on all sides of this. I've been the investor creditor, uh, or I've been the creditor's rep. And by the time we get brought in, usually we're brought in if it's as a receiver. I'm brought in as by the creditors themselves. They file an action, some kind of a collection action against the company that they haven't paid, or maybe they've got a big term note. Maybe there's a like a real world example. Maybe there's a this $5 million revolving line
Uh-huh.
that they've drawn down a lot of it and they stopped making payments about 8 months ago, 6 months ago. So then what follows on is a collection lawsuit. And then once there's a judgment, or sometimes before a judgment, they'll say, we want to appoint a receiver or all the money's going to go away.
Right.
So that's kind of the deal. The fun part about it is the opportunity to replace the management. That's the fun part
Why is that the fun part?
because it's easy.
Huh.
And basically what I mean by that is, so in the case of the water company, I'll give you a real world example. I've worked on a receivership in the water space before, but my professional background is not in manufacturing bottled water. That's not what I do. But what I can do is I can find somebody in that space. So what I do is then I target and find the top guy in that industry. Guy meaning unisex, could be the type gal,
Right,
top
right.
person in that industry, and say, hey, I want to retain you as an interim consultant on this case. This is what we're doing. And what you find when you're in my shoes is those people are interested. Most of them have either other business opportunities going on, or I've got a whole stable of retired folks that are just great. because they, even if, let's say you're Donna and you're fully retired, if somebody said, listen, I've got this case that's right up your alley, and I'll pay you 20,000 a month for a 6-month deal to come in and do this thing, you're going to do it because you're going to say, well, that's great, I got Christmas money, a little travel money, and then because it's a gig, not a job. So the people that have on the bench are always interested in a project. They don't want another job.
Right.
They don't want to go back to work for Lockheed and run a division, and that is no interest. But
No.
to say, hey, I need an expert on this spot. It's about 2 months worth of work. We'll pay you this much money. It's really relatively easy to find people. So that's what's fun about replacing management.
Yeah, that actually really sounds like fun. So, yeah, I've noticed a lot of, especially the new business owners, and I've worked with a lot of them. They either think their business coach knows everything, which isn't true.
Right.
Their business coach is usually just trying to get them to do the work, and offering some suggestions. But the whole point of a coach to me is to have someone to return and report to. Um, but they think the coach has all the answers, and they seem to think that, they because they know how to. I'm going to kind of use Michael Gerber, the E-Myth. They know how to bake a pie, so they know how to run a pie making business. And I'm going, those are entirely two different skill sets.
Amen to that. No, a lot of the business coaches, and I've had one in the past, whatever, but it's more like accountability.
Yeah, that's the whole point. Is
But what if you don't need it? What if you're not accountability's not the thing?
right.
Like for me, just having done my sport for 48 years, not 47. I'm very disciplined. I'm going to do whatever it takes. That's not the problem. Problem is figuring out what's the step that I should take.
What
Not
should I be working on?
correct. Not somebody going, did you remember to do that thing today? Yeah, I did. I did it. So
That's not what I mean. It's more of the, well, what do I need to work on next?
correct. Yeah. I mean
We've
that's
set up the business. We've organized the LLC. We've brought people in. What do I need to work on next? Oh, you need to work on funding. Okay, in order to get funding, you need a business plan, whatever it is, to kind of break these enormous tasks down into something
yeah.
manageable.
And I know from wearing my other hat, my martial arts instructor, taekwondo instructor hat, that there is a business there. I mean, there's a lot of people that have no motivation,
Hmm.
right? And they totally need someone to stand over them and say, "You got to do this. What's the matter with you?" I mean, where people will say, "Oh, I need to lose 30 pounds." And well, you need to doesn't count. What are you gonna do about it? Like, and how committed are you to it?
Exactly.
Are you a whatever it takes? I'm going to do it
Uh-huh.
mode or not? Well, this and that. I get busy and I don't have time to work out. And there's 24 hours in a day and you don't have 30 minutes anywhere.
Right.
I don't believe you.
Right.
And you come to kind of figure out it's a laziness issue. That's really what you're telling me. So
It,
that
it
for somebody like that, a life coach that bothers them all the time, it might
uh,
work really well.
right. And I always say, if you really want to do something bad enough, you'll find a way. If you don't want it that bad, to find an excuse.
Correct. That's there. That's who was it? Covey that said,
I think it was Kevin.
successful people have results. Other unsuccessful people have excuses.
Exactly. I
Um,
don't remember it was Covey, but I 100% agree with that.
I'm probably wrong.
He said a lot of really smart things. So,
My favorite of those quotes is when people say, the problem with quotes on the internet is verifying the source.
uh-huh.
Abraham Lincoln.
Right.
And it's like
Right.
Lincoln didn't say
With a
that.
picture of George Washington next to it.
Yeah, exactly. Or people misquoting. I love that. Somebody saying, well, what about trusting people? Well, if you can trust a man in small things, you can trust him in greater. And then he goes, I've always said that. And I go, I think that was someone a little bigger than you. But no,
Well, I
we
usually say
try.
I've said it when I've heard it somewhere else, but I don't remember who said
Right, exactly.
it.
Too fun.
I'm sure someone else used my quote before and I picked it up from them.
Right.
So what are the big red flags when a business is getting ready to go under, and how can people avoid that?
So the biggest thing I see is denial. People will don't want to look at the things the way they truly are. Denial's a big one. Ego is an even bigger one. When people think they're awesome and they just, they can't ask for help, or they can't conceive of the fact that maybe that wasn't the right decision, or whatever else. And then a third one would be, you have to know when you're over your skis. To use
Uh-huh.
a Colorado term, you have to know when you're over your skis. You have to know when it's time to pause, think your way through things. Sometimes, I mean, there's an Asian philosophy, and this is Korean, Japanese, and I believe Chinese also, which is that to take no action is an action. So sometimes the right thing to do is to stop and let the old adage, when you're in a hole, step one is
Stop
to stop
digging.
digging. Stop digging.
Yeah.
And most of us, present company especially, I mean, I feel like I should be doing something all the time. Got to do something. What are we doing? I'm doing something. I'm doing something. I'm being productive. I'm doing something. When maybe the right move is to stop and say, wait a minute, rather than taking another step, let's ask a question.
Right. And
And a
I
lot of
think a
times,
lot of success comes from asking questions.
yeah, I heard Tony Robbins once say that failure is really important, because when you succeed, you tend to party. But when you fail, you tend to ponder, and ponder is worth a lot more, on a long-term basis, to figure out what happened and where you are and what you're doing.
Yeah. I do that after every tax season, whether I think it's been successful or not. I want to know where did I stumble? What could I do better? What did I do really well that I need to do more of? And what did I not do so well that maybe needs to be revamped?
So do you do the 5-minute journal? You familiar with that one?
I'm not familiar with that, but I do bullet journaling.
5-minute journal, you should add to your bullet journal thing. It's a morning and nighttime thing. And basically, in the beginning of the day, you write down 3 things you're grateful for. And then you write 3 things that would make today better. What are 3 things that would make today better?
I
And
love it.
things you can focus on. Like if I said, what would make today better is if it snowed. I can't
I
change that.
can't do anything about that.
No. If what would make today better today, what would make today better would be for me to drink a shake instead of getting Five Guys for lunch. Okay, good. That's one. Or another one might be, eat as many frogs as you can before 9 in the morning. And then at the end of the day, you do that. What were 3 amazing things that happened today? And those can be, it snowed. It can be,
Right.
somebody called me. And then, what could I have done better today at the end of the day? Benjamin Franklin did something along these lines in his daily routine. That was kind of his thing. But I'd love to be able to say I do it every day. I don't, but I do it routinely, and it's really powerful at the end of the week.
I do it at the end of the week. What went really well last week? But the problem is I've been doing it on Monday and I don't remember last week very well. Even flipping back through my journals, I'm like, gee, what did go well? But I do like that. I like going through and deciding what my wins were and what could I have done better? How can I make things better? So one of my things right now is using AI, and I use it a lot of times to take the emotion out of um, discussions. So if a client comes to me with a complaint, the complaint may very well be justified, or it might not be. you know, I don't want to come back hot to the client. I want to stop and think. That's where stopping is a really good idea. I want to think it through. I want to look at things from the client's perspective. And then I want to assess the actual facts of their complaint. And then I put it into Claude or ChatGPT and tell them, you write this email. And it comes out without any emotion behind it. It's just data points. And I like that because that means that I'm not getting frustrated and I'm just presenting facts to the client. And what they do with that is up to them.
my daughter, the young one, uses it for, she'll write out a response and then put it into chat, or we use Perplexity quite a bit, and then say, rewrite this so I don't sound so mean.
Yeah.
And it comes out better.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
and I love that tactic. I wrote a letter to a prince, and I said, put it into chat at GBT, and I said, rewrite this
Hmm.
for formality. If I was writing to a member of the British royal family, how would I rewrite this so that it's more formal and whatever? And wow, did it look great after
Right.
after it got done with what I said. It was just like, you know, I remain humbly your faithful servant. And it was just this really very eloquent, cool deal. But it's such a great tool.
Well, I think it's so great for us as Americans as we're dealing with people in other countries because the British tend to be more formal.
Absolutely.
And, we're basically teenagers on the world stage thinking we're 10 feet tall and bulletproof and brash and young and everything that goes with that. Very
And,
informal.
and
And
even English language, right? I mean, we were at an event in the UK, and at Windsor Castle, and my wife forgot her gloves. Well, this is during Queen Elizabeth's reign, and that was a no-no.
that was,
Ladies wear gloves, right? I mean, the short ones during the day, the long ones at night, or whatever. So she is trying to find them someplace, but we realize in our country we say ladies' gloves, ladies' shoes. There you want to say women's.
yes,
A lady is either the wife of a peer, okay,
or appear
or a
herself.
daughter of a peer. If it's
Yeah.
Lady Catherine, then that's the daughter of. If it's
Uh-huh.
Lady Smithers, that's the wife of.
Uh-huh.
Lady it means something completely different.
Yes. Yes.
So we stumbled over that real badly.
Yes, America and England, two countries separated by a common tongue.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. I love
We,
that.
we use the same words, but not always for the same thing.
Or sir. We say sir a lot. Sir's a thing. He's
Yeah,
a knight. He's a knight, or he's a baronet. That's a sir.
that's a sir. And in America, we sir and ma'am everybody, and the British don't understand it. But we're all as temporarily embarrassed nobility here.
Right? Exactly. Yeah,
In
that's
my case, quite literally, I'm going back to the genealogy. I am descended from the Plantagenets, so I am temporarily embarrassed nobility.
right. Too much fun. Yeah, we've done thousands of hours worth of work on our English stuff. I have a cousin who's a Duke, um,
Uh-huh.
which it makes me nothing. If your cousin's a Duke, you're nobody.
You're not anybody.
It's one person. It's just one line all the way down. Um, but yeah, it's very interesting and very fun. They're
Yeah,
wonderful
it
people,
is.
though. It's a wonderful place to go.
It's uh, it's fun to see where you came from.
Absolutely.
And my mom always said that we were descended from royalty, and until I got a hold of the family charts, I didn't believe her. But we turns out we are.
Interesting. So, through which immigrants? Do you know the name?
Um, Eleanor of Aquitaine is an ancestor.
Now, so in the colonial times during the Great Migration period, there's about
Okay.
280 people, like Thomas Dudley of Massachusetts,
Okay.
and from him, then you have royalty because through him.
So one of my ancestors, and I don't have the chart in front of me, but he was a courtier in the court of Henry VIII. Um, Another one
That's
was
I would guess.
William.
I would
Huh?
guess that last name was Bainton, Bayntn, Notn, because there's a Anne Bainton. Her ancestor, her great grandfather was a courtier in the Henry VIII's.
No, but
Um,
we are related to the Duke of Marlborough. I have a lot of Churchills.
Churchill's cool.
And then William Brewster
Okay, there you
came
go.
over on the Mayflower, and I'm a direct descendant of his.
So we actually the Mayflower Compact dinner here in Colorado for the Colorado Mayflower was last weekend.
Awesome.
Yeah,
That is so fun.
yeah, very good fun. A lot of older people, a lot of walkers in the crowd. It tends to be a hobby that's not for people that are I'm 59. It tends to not be people that are 59. It tends to be people that are 89. that are
Right.
involved in those things. Anyway, very great.
Well, I am both Southern and Mormon, so I kind of got the genealogy bug everywhere.
I always say that about my LDS friends, that they're not necessarily all or have any interest in genealogy, but they have an aunt or a cousin or a brother or somebody very close to them
Uh-huh.
that is dialed in on the whole thing. So
Oh,
that
yes,
and
absolutely.
the LDS, the Family History Library in Salt Lake, is just amazing.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. And the people there are so nice.
very helpful.
So, kind of going back to what we were talking about before, we were talking about ego and how important it is to be humble as
Mhm.
you're analyzing your books. What else can people do to? What other big red flags do you see?
Lack of professionals is a big one. So by that I mean, let's say I walked into a business and I say, okay, do you have an outside um, CFO or CPA? If they say no, then I think, oh boy. If they say yes, then I say, perfect. I need to get in touch with her or him and then say, look, I'm working on this case, and they'll tell me all of the things, all of the information about the company, ins and outs, whatever else. The old adage when you're starting a business is to call your corporate lawyer soon and
Mhm.
often and often. If they tried to wing it and do all their stuff themselves and they don't have a professional background in that, if you're let's assume you were a business lawyer and you started a company, you probably don't need to hire somebody to do your articles of incorporation and your bylaws, probably not. But most people are not. They have no experience, and the lack of professionals is usually a red flag.
Yeah, I see that with bookkeeping. Even, the ground floor, we need to just have your QuickBooks files in order.
Hmm.
If they say it's their spouse doing it, even if their spouse is a CPA, I cringe. And I usually am going, so marriage counseling is separate. I've done the provider for that. You're going to need it. Because if you're having your spouse do your books, they may not want to do them.
Correct.
They may be doing them for the sake of harmony in the marriage. Um,
And
get
even
that out
even
of your
in my
marriage.
in my company, we have an outside accountant that will come in once a year and reconcile and do this stuff, because also when you get busy running your business, I'm worried about things like, hey, I need to forward a copy of the offering document to that guy.
Uh-huh.
I need to call this guy back and negotiate this. This is what I don't think. Have we reconciled October yet? I don't think that way. I think that, and then also, let's be honest, we all have limited bandwidth, right? And we can't.
Exactly.
I can't go 20 hours a day. There's an app on the iPhone that I bought and we share with our family called Rise, Rise, and it'll tell you your circadian rhythm and where you're going to be best during the day and worst during the day. So for me, it's we discussed this before. I'm kind of a morning guy. I get this peak, but you get me past about 1:30 or 2 in the afternoon. I can I can mow your lawn. I can dig holes for you, but
Right.
creative thinking, and I just don't have the mental energy. We all run out of gas, and at the end of the day, did we reconcile October? Well, we'll wait and see. So we bring in somebody to do that routinely and get outside third party snapshot advice.
I think that's brilliant. I I love it when I have clients that do that. They're usually the ones that hire me, oddly enough, um, because that's a recognition that they just don't have enough hours in the day, and maybe they want to play their kid watch their kid play lacrosse
Correct.
instead of being hunched over the computer trying to make two columns of numbers add up and match.
Right. Try to make the financial statements foot. That's not
Exactly.
probably, everybody's go-to. But the other thing I always tell people is if you're having a business that you think might eventually be um, that you would ever sell or take public or whatever else, is find somebody that will do auditing for it.
Yes.
And then audit it from the very beginning, like your first 6 months. Find a, and there people always think, oh, PCAOB, Bernie Ebbers, fraud, securities. You can find, people that do accounting that maybe they don't do it, but that's somebody that will do.
Right.
And maybe not even a full blown audit, just reviewed. But the
Even
getting
just a quick internal audit of what processes and procedures do you even have written down?
right,
Because if you're going to sell, you can't have them written. You have to have them written down. They can't just be in your head.
right. So my professional background, I used to own stock transfer agents back in the day,
Hmm.
and the most valuable thing a TA owns is their P&P manual,
Yes.
and it's a living, breathing document. It's always changing because you see something weird, and they go, "That one's not in the manual."
Hmm.
Like for instance, we got a subpoena, which as a transfer agent, you get sued and you get subpoenas and you get them all the time. It's not people think, oh my God, you got a subpoena. No, it's not like that.
It's kind of run in the mill sometimes.
It is, whatever, right? But we got a subpoena, and I'm looking at this. I go, holy moly, this is in Swiss. Now, my favorite grandmother, who's
Hmm.
since passed, she was her family, her dad was from Switzerland. They immigrated when she was a little bitty girl.
Uh-huh.
But I don't speak any Swiss. Why am I getting what is this?
Right.
What do we do with it? You know what I mean? So we have to put that in the P&P manual. If you get a subpoena or something from a foreign,
What do you do if
uh,
it's a foreign country?
what
Yeah.
if it's what? And this was ended up being a Swiss bankruptcy court. What do I do with that?
Uh-huh.
Because they don't have jurisdiction over me,
Right.
but it is an official, something, and you don't want to run afoul of it. So like maybe we go to Norway for Christmas, and I get arrested at the border for non-compliance with a EU subpoena.
Right.
Right? So you got to have a procedure in place. And what's the procedure? And it can't be just as simple as, you call counsel. It's going to have to be a little bit deeper than that. So, but just for example, yeah,
Yep.
get
Yeah,
an auditor.
and that's actually what I do with all of my clients. I will even actually do Loom videos on, okay, so this client is a behavioral health client, and we have to account for the insurance write-offs, and this is a video on exactly how we do that. And then I update them, as technology changes or procedures need to change. It's easy to update.
Absolutely. That's so key.
There's today with so many of the technology that we have that will actually just track your keystrokes. There's no reason not to have all of these SOPs written.
Absolutely. And you can, with the advent of the chat and all the AI, you could get one started pretty easily.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That could be a
The
great thing
AI is
for,
fantastic.
for breaking through writer's block, right? Is to say, how do I start this? And it'll give you a starting point to put something like that together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some of it you have to be a little bit careful of, but we had some fun in one of my groups, and it was ask the AI who you are.
Really.
And for Robert Stevens, you know what it said I was? It said Robert Stevens was the first journalist to be killed by an anthrax letter. He was an editor for the Miami Herald, I think, and he was killed in this date from that and this, and I go, that's not me. And then it goes, oh, oops, sorry. If you can give me more information, like which one, where are you, whatever else. Um, and then it went back and just spewed out things from my LinkedIn profile. But
Okay.
yeah, in some regards, but that's large language model is what it sounds like. It's a language model. So, and it's kind of funny. It reminds me of what's it, Cliff Clavin from the series Cheers, where if you ask him a
Oh, yeah.
question, he's always going to give you an answer.
Yes.
They're not right, but he's
A
going to be
very confident wrong answer.
exactly. He's like, well, actually, it's not right, but he's going to say it. Uh, you know,
Well, and that's how a lot of people are too. They'll give you advice. It's going to be probably worth what you paid for it.
yeah. I used to manage when I was in the securities business. I managed stockbrokers, and they were the worst. They would say whatever it was, and they would go 9 steps forward, and that was the whole thing. And,
Hmm.
and they were wrong every single time. So, whatever they were thinking was the way things were going to go was exactly backwards. Um, but too funny.
Yeah. So if you want to have a successful business, make sure that you're well capitalized, appropriate for your business. Have a business attorney on speed dial and check in with them frequently. Same thing with a CPA or accountant. Um, I'm not a CPA. I didn't go that route, but I am a fully qualified accountant.
Don't
Uh,
feel bad about that. Some of the absolute best and most brilliant CFO types I have, I think only one of them has an accounting degree.
I have an accounting degree and an
There you
MBA,
go.
so masters in
Nice.
both. So
That,
I'm
that
really, really good at something.
well, that tends those tend to be the absolute best for the CFO roles or the people that do anything higher level. Sometimes the rank and file CPA guy they're just not effective.
Well, they tend to just have their heads down over spreadsheets and QuickBooks, and they are focused on that one thing. They are not trained to run a business. They're not trained to explain um, a lot of what we're talking about. They're just not trained for it. And so when I was considering, and I was late in life when I got my degrees. So I didn't return for a bachelor's till I was 50,
Nice.
and did the bachelor's and 2 masters in just a few years. But I'd already been working in the field.
Hmm.
So,
Nice.
um, yeah, accountants are trained to do accounting.
Yeah,
And
there's
CPAs
an
are
old
trained to
adage.
do accounting, and audits and attestations are the only thing outside of accounting that they do.
Right. And the old adage is if the only tool in your toolbox is a hammer, everything looks like a nail.
Mm-hmm.
So
Exactly.
that's it. That's what we run into that in the security space a lot with securities attorneys. Each guy has their own format
Uh-huh.
that they follow, and they can't think outside that box.
Right.
And they tend to be formats that are reasonably safe alternatives, but they also tend to be formats that are uh, kind of tried and old and very, very expensive.
Right.
So, a securities lawyer would say, okay, Donna, you and I were starting a business. We're going to go raise $1 million. He would say, okay, step one, you need a PCOB auditor, and we need to register you with the SEC before you sell any stocks. That's what they would say.
Okay.
So you're going to spend $500,000 to go raise $1 million. It defeats the purpose.
Yeah.
It's not right.
Yeah.
When in that instance, you should look at, you know, uh, some kind of private offering exemption. If you're, maybe a regulation D, Reg D, or something, something along those lines. And that's not legal advice.
No, and you are not an attorney, and I
And
am
I'm not
not.
an attorney,
I
and I'm
am
not
not the viewer's accountant. So
right.
this is general thoughts.
Just business advice.
Yeah. Yeah. So make sure you're capitalized. Make sure you have your experts in place. Make sure you're humble.
Hmm.
Understand that you don't know everything, not even about your own business. Other people, I'm always finding new things that I want to implement in mine. So there's always room for growth and learning. Don't think you know everything. So let's get ego out of the way and be willing to look through and see what you've done, not just what you've done right, but what you've done wrong.
Absolutely.
So, and I think if you do those things and you're reaching out for outside help and you're starting a business, you're going to be all right.
Knock wood. I hope so. Right.
Now, there's still outside risk, but you should be all right if you've got the right professionals in place and the right and enough money to run it.
Yeah. And I don't want to sound too much like a part of the reason I go to certain conferences and I get kind of bored when they're going to say the things that everybody knows.
Hmm.
They say it anyway. But one of them that kind of falls in that category is know your market.
For real.
And know who it is you're selling to, what it is you're selling, what is it, um, and don't overestimate. Get legit about it, as one of my kids would say.
Yeah.
This is a big market. Well, how big is it? Um, if you show somebody a product, they'll go, "That's awesome. I would buy one of those." That doesn't mean they would actually buy it. If you said, "Okay, well, I've got one in my trunk. I'm going to follow you out back. I'll take cash or card," and then watch the response. It's different. It's going to be different than them telling you they love the product. So,
Right.
yeah.
Right. And yeah, know your market. And I think when you don't know your market is when you're going to make enormous mistakes, like Bud Light.
Right. No, exactly. Which is
That,
wasn't that
that
the
VP of
funniest
marketing
thing? I mean,
trying to turn it into something that it's just not and trying to market to a demographic that's not interested in it
right.
instead of leaning into, yeah, Bud Light is drank by rednecks,
No, it's totally it. I'm from
blue
Wisconsin.
collar workers.
Yeah, the red label.
Exactly.
Friday afternoon, there are red
Yeah,
label beers up and down the front, and these guys are all dirty, just right off of work.
right.
They're not wearing a dress, or at
And
least not
they
the
Bud
bar.
Light's still suffering from their marketing gaffe
And
because
also,
they didn't know their market. She
yeah,
came in thinking she knew everything.
yeah, and there's one of the guys I know that was just a genius in selling all these odd things, and I said, what where do you get the idea to sell that? I mean, what are you selling? And he goes, here, come here, check this out, and it's just like, here, have you seen these? It's a magnetic stand.
Yes, yes. My kids have those.
Yeah, well, he'd sell that kind of stuff. Well, I thought you were in this other business, and you go, it's no. It's really simple. You got to give the consumer what they want,
Uh-huh.
because that's all I do. If they go, they don't want that, then I'm not selling that.
Exactly.
That's the whole thing. Just don't try to force feed your product to somebody. Find something somebody wants and sell them that. It can be very challenging. It can be very exciting. If
Mm-hmm.
you think about the iPhone, in 2000, it didn't exist. It was Blackberries and whatever else, right? I mean, that's a huge risk to say we're going to introduce this new thing that everybody's going to love. It's just a big risk, as opposed to saying, Donna is an accountant that provides business service. There's a known need for that.
Yeah.
It's a
Well,
known
that's
need for it.
even actually why I went into this particular business, this field, is because I was like, everybody needs an accountant. Now, they may not all know that they need an accountant, but if they're in business, they need an accountant. And I don't even have to really say much. I just say, I'm an accountant, here's my card, and I get phone calls.
Right. Exactly. Because you're not creating a market. You're
No,
you're
the
you're filling
markets,
a need.
the government did that for me.
No, exactly.
So,
Find the need and fill it, right?
exactly. Exactly. So, thank you for coming on, Robert.
It was my pleasure.
How can people reach out to you if they happen to need your services?
Our website is Somerset. That's Somerset. Somerset, like the place of the people. .vc, like venture capital, and that's the easiest place to reach out to me. I'm also on LinkedIn, along
Okay.
with another 50 Robert Stevenses. We're everywhere, but on LinkedIn, I'm Somerset Stevens. That's the one for you to know which one. And it's been my pleasure chatting with you today, and wish you the best.
Same, same. We'll put your contact information in the show notes so people can reach you.
Wonderful. Nice
Thank you
chatting
so
today. Thank
much.
you.